It's known as the Wonder House, a home that belonged to a poet and philosopher from the 1920s who moved with his wife and 9 kids from Pittsburgh to build the house of his dreams.
Turns out, though, the family never ended up living in the home, and it was turned into a tourist destination. News 6 at 9's Carolina Cardona stopped by the Central Florida hidden gem and shows us why it's so unique.
Kristen just asked me one day, have you ever seen the Wonder House? And it was, no, what is the Wonder House?
A historical house from 1925 that Drew Davis and his wife Chrislyn want to restore back to its glory days.
I love the research aspect of it. I love going to libraries and looking through microfilm and going online and just digging for information.
The guy who built it was Conrad Shook. He was just an absolute outside-the-box thinker. He's this genius, just eccentric, different guy. Everything he did about the house was unique. This fireplace is actually another one of his famous inventions. He had this giant system of mirrors, and they were all on a track system. So he could actually turn a wheel and project all the colors all over the place.
The Wonder House is designed in the shape of a cross. Each floor had a fireplace to create a cross ventilation system.
If it was hot out, you would actually light the fireplace. Very counterintuitive, but what would happen is when the fireplace was lit, the warm air would rise and it would actually suck air from outside. So the effect was you had a constant wind in every single room.
The original dining room is now a library decorated with Gothic and Renaissance furniture.
Conrad originally wanted the house like a German castle themed. Everything he got in the house was all local materials with one notable exception, and that was actually the tiles he set into the fireplace here, and they came from 7 different countries.
The 4-story house was built out of concrete over stone and reinforced with steel rails.
The owners tell me there are 3 escape tunnels. One of them was discovered after Hurricane Irma knocked down a tree and unveiled this opening that you see right there.
And over on the first floor, which is below the main entrance, is what was called the dungeon.
It was famous for its pickled snake collection. There were hundreds and hundreds of pickled snakes. And interestingly enough, beneath us is actually 2 more floors. It would have been a sub-basement and a sub-basement. This is actually the reception room. This is where Conrad on the original tours would actually greeted the guests. Its heyday was definitely the 30s and 40s. It was kind of when it's at its peak. I read one story that was doing 2,000 guests a week. Conrad actually first opened the house up for tours probably in the late 20s, early 30s, because he actually ran out of money when he was building the house.
Decades later, the couple is once again offering tours.
We're trying to give it back to the community so they can come and see and relive the memories, create new memories, and say and see why it's important to preserve a historical building.
Carolina Cardona, News 6 at 9.
So there's no doubt that there are ghosts in there, right? That the place is haunted.
I was just really focused on the pickled snakes. I don't know what that is.
I don't know. We have to do some research.
I will.
Okay, Google that.
Check that out.
Garland.